landscape of the Naruto universe is an ever-changing tapestry that twists and turns in ways that none of us would ever expect. At least most of the time. And this is because the only consistent thing in the Naruto universe is change. The story changed to a story about a boy unifying those nations against a much greater threat. When we thought the story was about these ninjas coming together to use ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu to battle against this tyrannical monster in Madara, the story evolved into those very same ninjas becoming pilots of chakra mechs to battle on a scale that we previously thought was unimaginable. And when we thought chakra mech ninja pilots was the direction that Naruto was heading in, aliens arrived. And now those aliens have nullified the usage of those chakra mechs, so we're back to taijutsu. And the craziest part about that last update is that while the scale of the battles happening now in present day Boruto might be exponentially smaller, the respective power of those battles has gone way up. And that has left a lot of people very confused, because usually bigger is better and stronger. How are these characters who are only throwing mere punches delivering more force than a Susanoo katana slash? And because of the separation between size and power, sounds a lot like my bedroom, there's a growing sentiment of confusion in the Boruto fandom, which is almost entirely composed of people who read or watched Naruto. As people are beginning to wonder why characters from Boruto appear to be so much stronger than comparable characters from the Naruto universe. And that confusion has begun to reach its peak, as the true strength of characters like Jura and Hidari is slowly but surely being revealed. See, the events currently happening in Boruto are painting a picture out for us that the Shinju are the strongest enemies the Naruto universe has ever seen. Beings of borderline incomprehensible levels of power comparatively to every other antagonist prior to them. And this is becoming apparent through events like the fact that they were able to go toe-to-toe with Boruto, who no-diffed code, and the fact in Chapter 8 that Hidari and Juro were able to take out a fully realized Kawaki who should be at least as powerful as Ishiki, with next to no effort. Which means that everything that we've seen from at least Jura and Hidari proves that not only are they the strongest enemies we've ever seen, but also that the entire force of the Shinobi Alliance probably wouldn't be able to stand against them individually. But this realization is perplexing to a lot of people, especially those who still think we're in Naruto. I mean, the Shinju are just Ten Tails clones, right? How can they be stronger than characters like Jubito and Jubidara? Within the confines of Naruto, that doesn't make any sense. Because isn't it the golden rule of Jinchuriki, the whole reason Jinchuriki were made in the first place, that tailed beasts and ninjas are stronger together than they are separately? Which is why Jinchuriki, like Naruto, were able to tap into a level of power yet unseen by the world? And therefore, shouldn't a Ten Tails Jinchuriki be able to stand toe-to-toe with a Ten Tails clone with ego, or even far above them? As in essence, a Ten Tails with ego is just a sliver of a Ten Tails. It's not even a full Ten Tails. Even if the juvenile Ten Tails was split into fourths to create the four Shinju, that is one, a juvenile Ten Tails who was incredibly emaciated from all of the claw grimes that had been split off it by code. So the level of power that juvenile emaciated Ten Tails would have been able to confer to the Shinju should be substantially less than the power that the Ten Tails from the War Arc could convey to Obito or Madara, and thus the Shinju standing above Ten Tails Jinchuriki makes no sense, right? Well, it certainly is the golden rule for regular Jinchuriki, those who are Jinchuriki of one of the nine-tailed beasts, but it may not be the golden rule for a Ten Tails Jinchuriki, as both in the instances of Madara and Obito, upon becoming Ten Tails Jinchuriki, one could argue that they got weaker in some facets of their abilities, which to many seemed weird, because for all intents and purposes, becoming the Jinchuriki of the strongest entity on Earth should give you a boost in all categories. And yet, while Obito was in Ten Tails form, he couldn't use Kamui, his strongest ability, and Madara, while he was in his Ten Tails form, never used his Susanoo, something he was heavily reliant on prior to becoming a Ten Tails Jinchuriki. Now, does this mean that Madara couldn't use his Susanoo? No, but are there scenarios where Jubidara could have used his Susanoo to massive advantage? Yes, absolutely. So him not using said Susanoo, even though he loved to use it up until he absorbed the Ten Tails, raises a couple of logical red flags. Now, does this mean that Jubito or Jubidara were weaker as Ten Tails Jinchuriki? Now, while that is a somewhat popular opinion online, I just don't stand by it. But the way that Jubito and Jubara approached battle after becoming 10 Tails Jinchuriki undeniably changed. And thus the answer to our lingering question, how can a Shinju be stronger than a 10 Tails Jinchuriki, might lie in that truth. But before we get to peeling back any layers of truth, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you like the idea of me using the logic in this brain to explain phenomenon from your favorite anime and manga, go ahead and follow my other channel, The Weeb Commander, where instead of talking about Naruto and Boruto, I talk all other anime and manga. And if you like the idea of me throwing all logic out the window while talking about anime and manga, go ahead and follow my anime podcast, Otaku's Anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime and manga this week. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Or if you want to look like somebody who approaches conversations around anime and manga with a level of logic and sophistication that the world has never seen before, go ahead and meander on over into my merch store, otakusanonymous.net, where you can pick up some of the greatest anime t-shirts, sweatshirts, and sticker packs known to man. Fair warning, I'm finna yap today, but in order to flesh out the answer to this question, I have to paint you a rather large picture, because pretty much every single part of every single point that I'm gonna try and build out today to answer the question we're trying to answer today is somewhat contentious. And also, the answers are not entirely concrete. And thus, without building out a current worldview of the Naruto versus Boruto universe power systems and so much more, answering the lingering question we have today really doesn't mean anything. But you've been warned. See, one of the largest discourses in the Naruto fandom, even before the Shinju were revealed, was how far could Jubito or Jubidara make it in the Boruto universe? And it's still a heavily debated topic to this day. And while we have a pretty good and concrete answer for Jubito, as Jubito was defeated by characters we can scale, most notably KCM2 Naruto and EMS Sasuke, obviously this was pre their Hagoromo boost, we don't have a great answer for Madara, whose upper limit we don't really know, but we are able to estimate the peak strengths of both Jubidara and Jubito based off the people that they were fighting in the war arc, and based off what they were able to accomplish in said fights. Like I already said, Jubito lost to a majestic attire Susanoo, wielded by Sasuke and Naruto simultaneously. Now, I could point out the fact that a peak power Hashirama was able to defeat a majestic attire Susanoo that was being wielded by Madara, but making that comparison is somewhat disingenuous, because obviously the majestic attire Susanoo being wielded by Sasuke and Naruto was more powerful than the majestic attire Susanoo being wielded by Madara. Why, you ask? Well, because of the golden rule we've already talked about in this video. A Jinchuriki is always going to be stronger than either a ninja or a tailed beast on their own. And Madara was not the Jinchuriki of Kurama. He was controlling Kurama with Genjutsu. And thus, unfortunately, somewhat unquantifiably, the majestic attire Susanoo used against Jubito was stronger than the one used against Hashirama. And for those of you who are going to be like, but also Hashirama has wood release, which is strong against tailed beast chakra. So did Obito. And also, the giant Susanoo shell is supposed to stop wood release from hitting the tailed beast chakra. But still, even if we say that this majestic attire Susanoo was stronger than the one that Hashirama managed to destroy with his 1,000-armed Kanon, Jubito's peak strength is really not all that impressive.
But Nick, he fought against all the Hokage, KCM2 Naruto, and EMS Sasuke simultaneously.
You're right. He did. However, Hiruzen and Hashirama, who were probably the two strongest Hokage in their peak prior to Naruto, were far, and I mean far, from their peaks. As Edo Tensei brings you back as you died, and both Hashirama and Hiruzen most likely died of old age. Well, like, we know Hiruzen didn't die of old age, but he died while old. Actually, that would have been fantastic. He, uses the Reaper Death Seal, and then right before his soul's about to be severed, he just has an aneurysm. I wonder if that would save you from the Shinigami stomach. Probably not. But yes, the addition of Minato and Tobirama battling against Jubito with KCM2 Naruto and Sasuke is impressive. But mind you, Minato is admittedly not that great at Sage Mode, and he also had just unlocked KCM2 like Naruto. And Tobirama, unfortunately, while powerful, didn't exactly hold it down in his battle against Jubito. All in all, Jubito scales below Jubidara, and therefore probably below Kaguya. And if you want to get really granular with it and compare Jubito to a character from Boruto, he probably scales somewhere to around the level of Kinshiki, as low tier in Otsutsuki as you can possibly be, as I believe that there's multiple characters in the 4th Great Shinobi World War who would have been able to stand toe-to-toe against the likes of Kinshiki. Now, let's talk about Jubidara, because Jubidara is a different story entirely. See, See, 1 Rinnegan Jubidara, who was possibly incomprehensibly weaker than 3 Rinnegan Jubidara, was able to tank an attack from 8 Gates Might Guy that bent space-time. And now, since the only way to bend space-time is to be a supermassive object, this means that the density of Might Guy's chakra was so incredibly thick that he was able to bend space-time like a planet. And because of this, the scaling for Night Guy is kind of all over the place, with some claiming the kick to be a planet buster and others scaling it all the way down to island level. However, the exact scaling of Night Guy isn't all that important. All we need to know is that Madara survived it, and that 99.99% of the Naruto universe wouldn't have. On top of this, 1 Rinnegan Madara also went toe-to-toe with the likes of Naruto and Sasuke post their Sage of Six Paths boost. And while there was some definite moments where Sasuke and Naruto caught 1 Rinnegan Madara lacking after Madara's boost to Rinnegan and a Sharingan, it didn't seem as though Naruto and Sasuke were truly going to be able to finish it through any conventional means. And even Hagoromo himself said that Madara was quickly approaching his level of power, which some people highball to be infinite. However, unfortunately, as soon as 3 Rinnegan Madara burst onto the stage, he took a big black backshot like Lana Rhodes from Black Zetsu, and was used as Kaguya's vessel. And it wasn't until we made it to Boruto did we realize this is kind of Kaguya's thing, cutting down incredibly powerful men while they're not looking. But if we want to be logical, which we should be, it's very safe to assume that Jubidara doesn't scale above Kaguya. After all, Madara was harnessing her power through the Ten Tails, as she's kind of the Ten Tails. And while yes, we can say that Madara's mind harnessing the power of the Ten Tails / Kaguya could have the same golden rule applied to it that we apply to Jinchuriki, and thus Madara harnessing Kaguya's power could have made for a more powerful foe than just Kaguya, I would like to remind you that Kaguya is an immortal alien who has presumably destroyed tens, if not hundreds of planets alongside Ishiki. And while yes, she is the lower ranking Otsutsuki, it's not like Kinshiki wasn't helping Momoshiki in his plot to collect the 9-tailed beast. She was absolutely throwing hands with aliens all across the multitude of universes. So while Madara was a genius amongst men, Kaguya probably has him beat in actual battle experience and is therefore incredibly powerful. Not to mention she had the ability to fight for 3 months straight against her 2 sons, whose end goal was touching her simultaneously. So to assume that Jubidara scales above her with the little evidence that we have is kind of insane. So our perception of 3 Rinnegan Jubidara's strength is inherently tied to our perception of Kaguya's strength, which is inconsistent. See, we understand that it took the combined effort of all of Team 7 in the most powerful forms that we had ever seen them, plus Obito, to simply lay hands on Kaguya, and thus her power is undeniable, especially when you consider the fact that we were getting a version of Kakashi in this battle against Kaguya who could rather easily be scaled to adult Sasuke levels. I mean, DMS Kakashi might have been the most powerful person in that fight except for Kaguya, as after all, he is the only person in that fight who speed blitzes Kaguya. But unfortunately, as impressive as that fight was by Kaguya against Team 7, we have testimonial from Sasuke himself during the blank period stating that he alone is now powerful enough to 1v1 a Kaguya level threat. And Naruto, just 3 years after the conclusion of the 4th Great Shinobi World War, was tanking moon-splitting attacks. And if we assume that Kaguya didn't have moon-level durability, which is why 6-Path Shubaku Tensei worked on her in the first place, this means that only 3 years after the 4th Great Shinobi World War, Naruto's durability was higher than Kaguya's, and therefore he also would probably be able to 1v1 a Kaguya-level threat. So the Naruto blank period brought a whole new meaning to what the word power means in the Naruto universe, as even Sasuke, who's barely involved in Naruto the Last, was able to destroy a meteor that dwarfed the meteor that Madara called down upon the Shinobi Alliance with a based Chidori, and thus Naruto and Sasuke as adults are leagues stronger than they were in the War Arc, which makes a lot of sense, because in the War Arc they were using shiny new abilities that they had had for less than 12 hours, and were being forced to use them time and time again against insanely powerful enemies. Pretty much as soon as Naruto unlocks KCM 1, he has to go battle against White Mask Obito, followed up by battles against people like Edo Nagato. Oh wait, I got the order of those two things mixed up because Naruto unlocks KCM 2 in his battle against White Mask Obito. Anyway, what I'm driving at here is that all the new abilities that Naruto and Sasuke unlock during the 4th Great Shinobi World War, they unlock during the 4th Great Shinobi World War. So to say that they were practiced in any of these abilities is a big stretch. The boost in strength between War Arc Naruto and Sasuke and adult Naruto and Sasuke is put on full display when they battle against Momoshiki, which I actually hesitate to even call a battle, because Naruto and Sasuke beat the ever-living piss out of fused Momoshiki, sometimes in base. And it wasn't until Momoshiki was saved through, I believe, Kisuke is his name, trying to use a shinobi gauntlet on the weakened version of base Momoshiki after Naruto and Sasuke had beaten the piss out of him, that Momoshiki actually began to stand a chance against Naruto and Sasuke. However, just a few chapters after that, I mean, it's like closer to like 30 or 40 page chapters, but still, that strength was thrown directly back into the face of Naruto and Sasuke, who disrespected them in a way that we didn't believe possible for our former MCs. And this battle was so incredibly one-sided that it became apparent in that moment that Naruto and Sasuke were no longer the stars of the show and would probably never be again. But if Jigen, who technically isn't as strong as Ishiki, as Jigen was an incomplete karmic vessel for Ishiki, was stronger than Naruto and Sasuke combined, who were still very clearly at the peak of their powers. No, Naruto was not rusty and therefore weak in his battle against Jigen. You saw what he did to Momoshiki and Delta. How could anyone ever reach beyond that horizon? How could anybody ever achieve that level of, oh, Boruto did it immediately? Because about as fast as it was established that Naruto and Sasuke are no longer the strongest people in the universe, 3 new characters, all with power comparable to that of Ishiki, took a step towards center stage. And those 3 characters, in the order of their awakening to this Ishiki level power, were Kawaki, who inherited Ishiki's power through a manufactured kama given to him by Amado, Code, who had his limiters removed by Amado, and Boruto, who returned from the time skip so strong that he was able to make limitless Code look like a child trying to wrestle their father. And somewhat immediately, I mean, not that immediately, I think it's been like 3 years since Kurama died, we had 3 characters who were stronger than Naruto and Sasuke combined. But we didn't stop there, because 2 Blue Vortex also gave us the Shinju, physical 10 tails manifestations of people bitten by claw grimes. An individual Shinju appeared to be as powerful, if not more powerful, then Boruto, who stands atop the list of 3 people who yield strength comparable to Ishiki. Therefore, and I'm gonna have to read this one from my notes, the Shinju, who stand above Boruto, who stand above Kawaki and Code, who stand above Jigen, who stand above adult Naruto and Sasuke, who stand above War Arc Naruto and Sasuke, who stood above Kaguya, who stood above Jubidara and Jubito, are a league stronger than the closest comparison we have to them. Why? By the way, the closest comparison we have to the Shinju are Jubidara and Jubito. That's what I'm saying. Well, while we don't have an official answer, the guess I would venture is ego. See, while we're never really given a reason why tailed beasts are stronger when used through the medium of a Jinchuriki, the answer that we can draw ourselves is that the Jinchuriki, who's usually a ninja, can harness the power of a tailed beast in a much more precise, accurate, and deadly way than a tailed beast ever could. By applying the strengths of a tailed beast to things like ninjutsu or amped taijutsu, the power of a tailed beast can be used in a way that a tailed beast would never think to use their own power, on account of the fact that the tailed beasts are not ninja. See, because while plenty of tailed beasts do have Kekkei Genkai, most tailed beasts are kind of reliant on swinging their big bodies around and blasting tailed beast bombs. And while this is super effective if you're going against a cluster of very close people, being able to condense that power down into a human body and apply it on an individual level, while also having the ability to tap into this tailed beast form, gives a much greater sense of versatility and power. Tie this into the possibility of an emotional connection being built between the tailed beast and the Jinchuriki, and the intermingling of their powers can lead to a massive power-up. In fact, we've seen this multiple times. The 2 closest Jinchuriki combos, which is Killer Bee and Gyuki and Naruto and Kurama, were able to access a level of power that was unthinkable to all other Jinchuriki, as both Gyuki and Kurama were multiple times able to stand up to the might and power of the 10 tails, going so far as being able to force tailed beast bombs back down the throat of said 10 tails. And the closeness of their connection wouldn't have been possible without the tailed beasts in question having an ego. See, Naruto couldn't have asked Kurama his name if Kurama didn't have an ego, because Kurama wouldn't be able to talk, think, and wouldn't even know his own name. And therefore, if Naruto couldn't ask Kurama his name, he never would have unlocked KCM 1. And if Kurama had no ego, he never could have befriended Naruto, which led to KCM 2. Because upon befriending Naruto, Naruto was able to open Kurama's 8 trigram sealed gate, cementing the fact that Kurama and Naruto were collaborators, not prisoner and guard. And if Kurama had no ego, he never would have suggested Baryon mode to Naruto, as Kurama knew that Baryon mode would kill him, but it would give Naruto enough power to defeat Ishiki. And without them being friends, Kurama never would have willingly given his life for Naruto. And thus Kurama having an ego was giving him a will to fight, and an active friendship with Naruto that allowed for him to capitalize on Kurama's strengths, going so far as teaching Kurama how to pull in nature chakra so Naruto wouldn't have to set up shadow clones to do it for him. But Naruto's gone further than this. In the last, we saw that Naruto can separate Kurama from himself to make a giant chakra Kurama that can battle against stone golems on the moon, while Naruto operates independently. A thing Naruto could never do if Kurama didn't have an ego. And thus, this is the weakness of being a Tails Jinchuriki. Think about it. Every time that Naruto used the chakra of Kurama before befriending him, he ran the chance of Kurama taking over his body and killing him. Now, technically, this is because of how the 8 trigram seal works, as it allows for the leakage of chakra from the tailed beast to the Jinchuriki, which is why Minato was unable to seal the entirety of Kurama into Naruto as a baby, because the leakage would kill it. But I can't imagine that tailed beast seals from other villages work all that differently. See, if you want to use the power of your tailed beast, you have to release the power of said tailed beast at least a little bit. And thus, the same rule should apply to Tails Jinchuriki. And this is why we saw both Obito and Madara at some point in their journey as Tails Jinchuriki lose control of said Tails. And thus the natural conclusion to draw here is that Tails Jinchuriki can't use as much of the Tails chakra as other Jinchuriki can use of their tailed beast chakra on a percentage basis. And this goes doubly if the Jinchuriki of the regular tailed beast has befriended their tailed beast, as Naruto is able to use the entirety of Kurama's chakra, something that if a Tails Jinchuriki did would kill them instantaneously. On top of this, the Tails Jinchuriki, like somebody who's grafted Hashirama's cells onto them like Danzo, can't be injured grievously or run out of chakra. Otherwise, they'll lose control of the Tails, which also leads to instant death. All this is to say that the Tails' lack of ego kind of makes being the Tails Jinchuriki like being a bank robber. Sure, you have all this money, but you can't spend it anywhere that would track that. So you just have infinite grocery and gas money for the rest of your life. And being a Tails Jinchuriki is no different. At best, being a Tails Jinchuriki is like having an infinite refill of your own chakra. An infinitely deep well of chakra you can tap into at any point to refill your own chakra, but once you truly begin to tap into the Tails chakra, you get into a dangerous territory. And at worst, being a Tails Jinchuriki is a massive liability that strips you of the usage of any technique that may destabilize your physical form or your chakra flow, i.e. the Kamui or the Susanoo. And thus the real reason that the Shinju are so much more powerful than Jubito and Jubara, and they are, it's a fact, is because for the first time in Naruto history, we're seeing a Tails with an ego. We are for the first time seeing a true Tails Jinchuriki with the ability to apply the entirety of its power in a precise, accurate, and deadly way. Because not only are the Shinju Tails with ego, they also all come from ninjas, meaning that they have the power of a Tails with an ability to think and the memories and abilities of the ninjas their claw grimes bit. So in short, why are Shinju so much more powerful than Tails Jinchuriki? Well, because they're perfect Tails Jinchuriki, a natural upgrade to a flawed concept. They are everything that Jubito and Jubara wanted to achieve, though they only have 2 Rinnegan. And with that, I hope to assuage curiosities that you guys might have of the Boruto universe's current power scheme. But if you guys don't like my explanation for why the Shinju are so much more powerful than Tails Jinchuriki, tell me your possible explanation in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. I didn't even yap that bad. I condensed that down. You're welcome.